My husband left me and our kids for a hot girl from the internet and disappeared for 8 years. I am 40 years old, and it's been hard to make sense of a recent decision I made about my family. I want to hear what others think. My life was turned upside down 8 years ago when my husband, Robert, suddenly announced he was leaving me and the kids. He met some hot girl online and fell in love with her. His decision hit me like a thunderbolt from a clear sky and left me completely bewildered. In the weeks before that, Robert had been distant and not himself, but I thought it was just work stress. We've been married for over 10 years, supported each other through everything, and I knew Robert for half my life. We had built a family together. The thought of him cheating never crossed my mind. One evening, Robert finally admitted he'd met someone named Isabella. He said she was the hottest girl he'd ever seen. They had been talking for 3 months and had gotten so close that he realized he was unhappy in our marriage. Every word cut me like a knife, and inside I felt a mix of anger and despair. He insisted he still loved me and the kids but couldn't deny his feelings for Isabella. He said he needed to meet her in person to see if they had a future together. I was overwhelmed with emotions and couldn't process what was happening. The walls of our home seemed to close in on me. With a trembling voice, I asked if he was leaving me and the children for this woman. He nodded slowly, saying that although he didn't expect me to understand, he needed to do this for himself. He explained that he'd thought about it a long time and was going to meet her and start a new life. He said he was willing to support us financially as much as he could, but he needed to follow his heart and meet the love of his life. My world collapsed. I couldn't believe my husband was leaving me and our kids for a woman he'd never even met in person. At first, I wanted to scream and beg Robert to stay. But when I looked into his eyes, I realized he had already made his choice and there was no turning back. Robert moved out the following week, leaving me to explain to our children that their father was not coming back. 9-year-old Emily asked 1,000 questions I had no answers for. 4-year-old Nathan couldn't fully grasp what was happening and looked at me like he knew something terrible had happened. I felt empty and broken, and only the kids kept me from sinking completely into grief. When I first told my family and friends about Robert, their reactions mirrored mine. They couldn't understand how my husband of so many years could do this. My parents urged me to take him to court, but at that time I didn't have the strength or grounds. I still believed Robert would come back. Robert's parents were helpless and devastated to learn their son had abandoned us. They called him repeatedly, begging him to return, but he told them the same story he told me. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. I had to pick up the pieces of my life for myself and the kids. Our family and friends surrounded us with support and offered help during the tough times. I focused on finding work to create stability for Emily and Nathan, but the pain of my husband's betrayal never went away. Robert's parents helped me financially and looked after the kids when I needed a break. 8 years passed. Robert's presence in our lives became just a distant memory. He occasionally sent money, but that was the extent of his contact. He never reached out to me or the kids. I effectively became a single mother, working tirelessly to provide for my children and give them the love and attention they deserved. Though Emily sometimes thought about her father, over time she stopped trying to contact him and learned not to mention him. Nathan, who was very young when Robert left, never spoke about his father. Despite the pain of loss, they both grew into wonderful people. Recently, Robert's father suddenly passed away, and we all attended the funeral. Later, the family lawyer told me he wanted to talk about the will. The lawyer explained that Robert's father left some money to his grandchildren. While it wasn't a huge sum, it could help cover college expenses. I shared the news with the kids that they no longer needed to worry about school expenses. Their faces lit up with joy, and seeing their happiness was truly touching. It felt like a huge weight had finally been lifted after a long time of uncertainty. Last week, I received a call from an unknown number. To my surprise, it was Robert. I was flooded with mixed emotions and lost my voice hearing him after 8 years. He hesitated before saying he wanted to meet urgently. Confused, I asked what it was about. He confessed he wanted to discuss some kind of offer and begged me to meet him. I couldn't understand why he was calling now after all these years. His persistent request was hard to ignore, so I took some time to gather my thoughts and cautiously agreed to meet him alone. We arranged to meet at a cafe near my office. After hanging up, my mind was full of questions and doubts. I kept anxiously waiting for our first meeting after so long. I decided not to tell the kids anything until I understood what this offer was about. The days before the meeting were emotional roller coasters. I couldn't stop replaying the past in my head, remembering the pain of Robert's sudden departure, the challenges of raising the kids alone, and years of trying to accept his absence. I arrived early and nervously sipped my drink. After a while, he entered, approaching me with a look of hesitation and resolve. I noticed he looked older, worn out, and somehow nothing like the man I married. At first, our conversation was filled with awkward pauses and cautious words. We avoided the main topic, focusing instead on polite greetings and chatting about the past years. At one point, Robert gathered his courage and began explaining why he unexpectedly returned to our lives. He said Isabella wasn't the woman he imagined. She was also a single mother but hid that fact until he left us and showed up on her doorstep. Their relationship faced many difficulties, mainly due to her gambling addiction, which led her to lose money. They argued often, but Robert decided to stay with her, not wanting to leave someone again. However, after his father recently passed, he realized life was too short to be unhappy every day. He thought about how much he missed me and the kids and regretted the choice he made 8 years ago. Robert said he often thought about coming back but lacked the courage to face us. He revealed that his father left him the big lake house where we vacationed before he left. He said he wanted to sell it to secure a comfortable life for himself. I listened silently, nodding. Then Robert shocked me with an unexpected offer. He proposed to come back to us and give our children a luxurious life. He assured me I would never have to work again if I accepted him back. I looked at him in disbelief as he continued convincing me we could live the rest of our lives without worrying about money. Essentially, Robert wanted us to reunite and give our family a second chance, using his inheritance to create a better life. I carefully considered his words, understanding the potential benefits the inheritance could bring. But forgetting all the years he was absent, when I fought alone for the kids, was simply impossible. Although the idea of financial stability was tempting, I couldn't ignore the pain and anger that built up inside me during all those long years. So I firmly told Robert that while I appreciated his offer, I simply couldn't forget the last 8 years. I told him I raised the kids alone all this time, working and managing everything, and although we don't have everything we could dream of, we have a stable life. I said I didn't want to risk exposing myself and my kids to pain again. I wanted to protect them and wasn't sure if I could ever trust him enough to be certain he wouldn't leave us again. Robert kept begging me to reconsider. His eyes were full of desperation, but I knew if I let him back into our lives, I would risk the family's stability. My heart clenched a little thinking about rejecting his offer, especially since he could solve all our financial problems. But I couldn't ignore the emotional wounds he left behind. Since meeting Robert, my parents have been urging me to reconsider and accept his offer. They keep telling me the least he can do now is give me and the kids a better life, free of financial worries. My parents say people can change. Maybe Robert realized his mistakes and genuinely wants to rebuild our family. They think I'm being selfish and should put my kids' comfort above my own emotional pain. The last few days, I haven't been able to sleep, wrestling with my decision. I can't bring myself to tell the kids about Robert's return. I worry how they will react to the news and the idea of their father re-entering their lives after 8 years of absence. I continue doubting if I'm right, torn between the possible benefits of accepting Robert's offer and the memories of our painful past. Am I wrong for rejecting Robert's offer and possibly depriving my kids and myself of a better life? Update 1. In just a few days, I received thousands of comments and messages from people. I'm glad most of you don't blame me. I listened to the advice and decided it was time to have an honest talk with the kids about Robert. The last thing I wanted was for him to suddenly appear in their lives and catch them off guard. Tonight, after dinner, I sat down with Emily and Nathan. I started telling them about their father's unexpected return and his offer to come back into our lives. Curiosity and confusion showed on their faces as they tried to understand. When I told them Robert inherited the lake house and wants to sell it to help us financially, their reactions varied. Emily, now 17, showed a wide range of emotions from anger to shock. She was as confused as I was and couldn't understand why Robert decided to come back after all these years. Although she remembered her father and sometimes missed him, she also remembered the pain when he left us. She said she initially missed having a father figure in her life but learned to live without him and no longer wanted him back. Nathan, now 12, said he barely remembered Robert, so he didn't care that I rejected his offer. He struggled to understand all the consequences of the situation. I told them I would support whatever decision they made because I respect their opinions. Emily said she absolutely didn't want to see him. Nathan agreed, saying he was happy with how things are now. I realized that although the idea of reuniting the family was tempting, the wounds of the past are too deep. The well-being of my kids comes first. I knew I made the right decision to leave Robert. Update 2. In recent weeks, Robert's calls became more desperate. Despite all my explanations that I didn't want him back, he kept calling. As a conflict-averse person, I felt cornered and emotionally exhausted by his constant attempts to contact me. I worried he might suddenly show up at my workplace or come to the kids' school. So I reached out to his mother, who knew about his return and seemed the only person who could help me understand his motives and handle him. I met with her to inform her of my decision to end things with Robert and express my frustration about his constant calls. During that conversation, his mother revealed the real reason for his persistence. She explained that Robert's father included a cunning clause in the will regarding the lake house. Robert could only inherit the house if he returned to our family and solidified his claim. I would also have to sign the relevant documents. This revelation shocked me and filled me with disgust. Finally, I understood why he was so persistent in contacting me over the past weeks. His main motive wasn't a sincere desire to reconcile or make amends but to gain the house. The whole story seemed like a cruel manipulation of emotions. I needed to carefully consider my next steps. Knowing Robert's true intent, I realized it was time to act. At the time of writing this update, I have already started looking for a lawyer to prepare divorce papers. I also spoke with my parents, who now regret advising me to consider Robert's offer. They understand he hasn't changed over the years and support my decision to officially divorce him. They regret ever suggesting I hear him out and now know leaving him is the right choice. Currently, I have blocked Robert so he can no longer bother me. I plan to meet him in person to hand over the divorce papers. Update 3. 2 months have passed since the last update, and now I can share some good news. As I mentioned, I plan to give Robert the divorce papers, so I asked him to meet me. He agreed immediately. Emily and Nathan wanted to see their father one last time. They had many questions for him, and I felt it was important for them to get answers and close this chapter. Despite the pain of the past, we agreed to meet in a neutral place, a local park where we once spent many happy moments as a family before Robert left. Emily's eyes were full of curiosity and skepticism as she looked at her father. Nathan stood awkwardly next to me. Right away, I told Robert the first knew the real reason why he decided to come back after all this time. Robert objected that it wasn't only because of his father's will but also because he genuinely wanted a second chance for our family. I shook my head, realizing I could no longer believe a word he said. I told him it was over for us, and the least he could do was answer the kids' questions. He nodded. Emily asked first if it was worth leaving us for another woman. Robert shamefully lowered his eyes and admitted he was lost, made a terrible mistake, and deeply regretted his decision. Nathan asked more directly if his personal life was more important than the family he abandoned. Robert took a deep breath and said he wasn't thinking clearly then. He admitted he was wrong to leave us. My kids are perceptive and strong and weren't satisfied with those answers. Robert tried to justify his betrayal by calling it a midlife crisis. Then he shared painful details about his life with Isabella, the difficulties they faced, and his realization that he was chasing an illusion. Emily and Nathan listened carefully, though I doubt they believed him. They asked why he never tried to contact them and if he truly regretted leaving us. I heard the pain in my kids' voices. Robert admitted he was tormented by guilt and didn't know how to deal with the consequences of his actions. He repeated that he wanted us to be a family again and that now he could give us a luxurious life. Looking into my children's eyes, I realized the decision was obvious. They didn't believe him, just as I didn't, and wouldn't let Robert easily return to our lives with money as compensation. This was a matter of principle and determination. I told Robert we had already left him in the past and didn't need him or his money. I handed him the divorce papers. As he looked at them with regret and disappointment, he begged me, claiming he sincerely wanted to make amends for all these years. I remained firm. Then Robert offered to split the proceeds from selling the lake house with me, arguing that way we'd both benefit. Emily immediately objected, saying we didn't want his charity. Nathan nodded in agreement, adding that we already had everything we needed to be happy. At that moment, I think Robert finally realized the huge mistake he'd made. He began to cry, apologizing to the kids and admitting he made a terrible mistake when he left us. He understood we would never forgive him. That day, as I left the park holding Emily's and Nathan's hands, I felt free for the first time. I suddenly realized what a burden I'd been carrying for my children. It was heartwarming to see how my kids defended and supported me. Our divorce is proceeding. I know it will take time to officially be free of Robert. For now, I plan to take a break and spend time with the kids. We are going to Disneyland, a trip we've long awaited. I want to create happy memories with my children, filled with laughter and joy, to overshadow the painful moments of the past. I'm confident that as long as we are together, we can face any challenges the future brings. Despite all the trials and emotional turmoil we've faced, my kids and I are on the path to healing and building a new stable life. This chapter is far from over, but now we will write our own story, one full of love and trust. Update 4. Since my last update, I have amazing news to share. I got promoted at work, which is a huge achievement for me. It took a lot of time, but now I earn enough to support my family. The promotion brings not only financial stability but also satisfaction that my hard work and dedication have paid off. The divorce process is going well. I hired a great lawyer who reviewed my relationship history with Robert and is confident the process will go smoothly. My family and friends have supported me all this time. Now that I earn enough, I plan to send my kids to therapy. I understand they may have issues related to abandonment, and therapy will help them better cope with emotions and overcome any residual trauma. I carefully researched options and found an experienced therapist who specializes in working with children and families. Meanwhile, as a parent, I strive to nurture my children's interests outside of school. My daughter Emily has an outstanding talent for drawing and spends hours creating beautiful paintings that decorate our home. My son Nathan has a natural talent for soccer, and we go to his games on weekends to support him. I'm proud of my children. As for Robert, we do not maintain contact, and I believe it's for the best. As many of you correctly guessed, his lover Isabella unexpectedly reached out to me. However, her message was not an apology, as one might expect. Instead, it was filled with anger and resentment toward me for allegedly taking Robert from her. She blamed me for their breakup and claimed I was the reason he left. Isabella's messages were aggressive and disturbing, and I was shaken by her rage. It was hard to believe this woman had the nerve to be angry with me when she was the cause of my family's breakup 8 years ago. I responded that I had no desire to be with Robert and that I was in the process of divorcing him. I reminded her of the pain and betrayal my family suffered when Robert left us for her. I told her she had no right to talk to me and made it clear how drastically our lives changed and how much my kids suffered because of her. I was clear that I never wanted Robert back. If anyone is to blame, it's her and her gambling addiction. I blocked her after sending this message and hope she never tries to contact me again. I don't want her to disrupt the peace my kids and I have built. As for Robert's mother, I occasionally speak with her, as she has always been kind to me. She expressed regret about how things turned out and wished me happiness. Interestingly, she also revealed that because of my decision not to reconcile with Robert, the lake house would not go to him as originally planned in his father's will. This revelation was unexpected but well-deserved. It's only fair that Robert faces the consequences of his actions. I know it will be a difficult journey, but the healing process has already begun. My children are growing and thriving, and with each day our future looks brighter. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Check out our previous videos here. Subscribe to our channel and good luck.